Welcome to Keto Life Support, where we make your keto life sustainable, fun, and low stress. I'm Kim Howerton, and I'll be coming to you weekly with some of my keto besties to bring you the practical, real-world keto advice that you need. Quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor, and even if we do have a doctor in the house from time to time, he or she is not your doctor, and nothing we say on this show should be taken as medical advice. Always check in with a trusted medical professional about your own personal medical concerns.
Hello and welcome to Keto Life Support. This is Kim Howerton. I'm your host. And today on this episode number 107, we're going to talk about, but it's not fair. Fairness. We have this idea maybe that we deserve a certain amount of ease in taking care of our body, or that the idea that being a healthy person should just be our baseline and not require any real effort. And I'm here to counter that thought. So I had this thought come up today in the gym. I was in the gym and I thought, oh yeah, kind of makes sense. The amount of effort I have to put in to be relatively healthy compared to that other person over there, it's different. It was there was some younger than me people in the gym, people who started exercising a lot younger than me, people who had never been very heavy. We all are in different places with different circumstances. And I was like, oh, there's this thing in, I think, a lot of people's head around fairness, right? Remember when you were a kid, if you had a sibling and you're like, it's not fair, Michael got a bigger piece of whatever, right? My brother's name is Michael, by the way, if you know where that came from. And so there's always that stuff going on, this idea that everything is equal and fair and nobody should have to do any extra. And I was kind of combining that thought with the thought that we seem to have developed somewhere along the line that normal means to not exercise and not expend a lot of effort, not spend a lot of time on your body, and eat whatever you want as often as you want, as much as you want. That's supposedly somewhere in our heads, or a lot of people's heads, that's the idea that that's what fair and normal is, that fair would be that. Being a healthy person without exercising and without monitoring your diet. That's our birthright or something. And I thought, I was just thinking about it. Where did we get the idea of this? I was listening to a podcast, Peter Attia was on it, and he said, less than, how did he phrase it? I think he said, if you just eat whatever you want, whenever you want, this is not a direct quote because I don't have it in front of me, but this is what I remember him saying, that if the population that eats whatever they want, whenever they want, as much as that they want, more than 90% of those people, so almost all of those people, will end up unhealthy and overweight and having lots of health problems. And it's well, why do we think that's the appropriate baseline? And then I was in the gym and I was seeing people with a lot easier time of it, who aren't having to make up for, right? So they started fit. They did fit things when they were a kid and they never weighed more than they wanted to within reason. And they never had that. And so they just built, it's just brick by brick by brick, they built, and they didn't have to first tear down the structure that was condemned and then try to rebuild. But they're building it with these weird parts. And there is no fairness in bodies. The body has no concept of fair. Fair is a judgment we put on it. I don't even, I say that word enough, fair. Stops making any sense to me. I think what we mean when we say it's not fair, how hard we have to work at this, it's more, I don't want it to be this hard. And maybe we feel like we were promised something by some imaginary unicorn about how things would go as an adult, but it doesn't go that way. And so I guess I wanted to just do this little show, teeny, it's not a big show, just a little show here, to talk about this because I think that thought is the thing that just destroys us, that it should be easier. that it shouldn't take so much time, that we should be able to do this, right? So, like my day started off with a walk to the gym, working out at the gym, and then walking home and then making a quick lunch. My lunch literally took 4 minutes and 39 seconds to make because I had stuff in the fridge. I just put it together, threw it in a bowl, easy peasy, right? But I passed by a ton of restaurants on the walk home, and I would have much preferred to stop and get a burger or something else. Not that you can't have one, but it's like, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing today. And there is just this like thing within me, and I think it's within a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I do. I absolutely do just want to do every single thing the way that I would prefer it every single second of the day. But we don't expect that in so many areas of our life. We don't expect that we can like not work and be able to afford to pay our rent, right? We don't think we should not save and be able to retire. Like we get there's a cause and effect. And so the idea that like bodies shouldn't take effort, it's weird the end of the day. And like, yeah, in our historical past, our ancestors, they didn't put in overt effort. Like, no, they did not go to the gym, but they had to build a brick wall or a stone wall or whatever. I don't have a good example there, but they had to lift heavy things. They worked in the field all day. So they were doing those exercisey things just naturally within their day. And there wasn't 12 different restaurants on their walk home from the city center. There was, maybe you could buy meat on a stick. I don't know, but probably there were none. And you ate what was available to you, and there weren't all these choices. And so this idea that like we deserve some type of, smorgasbord of choices and never having to break a sweat, and I would challenge you, because I'm going to bet that a lot of you, because I did, might have that feeling or thought a lot of the time. And as I was in the gym, it was so easy. It would have been so easy. And I certainly have done it in the past to think like, ugh, why am I even bothering? This is totally ridiculous. That girl over there is in so much better shape, and look how easy everything is for her, and why is everything so hard for me, right? You can get stuck in that place. But like, what use is that? We all have natural skills, we all have natural talents, and some things are outside of our talent, like, pool. Doesn't mean the effort isn't worth it. I'm not trying to be, better than someone else. I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. And the effort that that's going to take, well, yeah, it's not fair how hard things it is for me. It's not fair that, I have a seemingly very low metabolic rate, even with all the effort I put into it compared to a lot of people. But what good does that do me to think about it, to care about it, to focus on it? What matters is like what level of effort I can do without a detriment to myself, right? Like there's a tipping point. So there are certain goals I have that require a certain amount of effort. Yeah, if I accelerate the effort, I can accelerate my goals or the achievement of my goals. But there's going to be a point at which that accelerating my efforts makes my life suffer, right? Makes me suffer in my life. So if I was like, hey, I can work out 6 hours a day, I'll lose more weight and get more fit to a point. But then there are going to be trade-offs. One of which is I might get injured. Second of which is some of that effort's going to be useless because I'm working so hard, my body can't adapt that fast, right? My relationships will suffer. My work will suffer because I'm taking time away from those things. You have to find the balance that works in your life for you and makes you as happy in the balance as you can be. But focusing on fairness is useless. You have to focus on what works. You got to get practical. What can I do that won't upset the apple cart too much, will make my life work better, and long term will yield results? And then, so many of my clients and myself, myself, and I, all three of us, we didn't want to exercise for a really long time. Really, really, really long time. And I had to be okay with that. I said, hey, I'm not willing to do this. Not willing to do this. Hey, let's make sure I understand what I'm giving up by not doing that. I've given up a lot, but I was like, but I'm still not willing to do it. And that was just the deal I was making. Fair, not fair, doesn't matter. Just yes, no. Was willing, was not willing. But now I'm like, hey, I'm doing this thing and I enjoy it and I'm going to keep doing it and focus on the benefits and try and get better every day. And so many of my clients I look at and they're not yet willing to add another layer or do more than they're currently doing. And if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. But don't expect a different outcome than the effort you're willing to put in. And don't expect your effort to match someone else's effort. So some people can expend a little bit of effort and get a lot of outcome. Others of us, I'm in this club, have to expend a lot of effort to get a little bit of outcome, right? That's just the way it goes. Like, I am very blessed in many areas of my life. Fitness is not one of them. And if you're like me, I just count your blessings where they exist and move on, right? Do what you got to do. So just a little musings from Kim today as I thought about why we have these weird expectations. And clearly, see, I don't have an answer, but we do. We have these expectations that things should be easy and terms of our bodies, and they're not. But ultimately, when you get to the other side of that feeling, you actually see that there's so much to gain from dropping that script, that idea in your head that it's supposed to be easy, and really embracing that you can do hard things. Yes, I am quoting Glennon Doyle, but you can do hard things. And if it happens to be that your body is the hard thing, then that is what it is. And it's character building, people. You will, I promise, you will, after some time, not every day, not every time, but after some time, start to gain so much self-esteem from doing hard things in a way that you can actually start to feel bad for the people things are easy for. Because, well, they're just not developing anywhere near as much character as you are. So I hope that helps a little bit, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Keto Life Support. Want more information? Want show notes? Want to suggest a topic? Just head over to ketolifesupport.com. That's where all that kind of thing can go on. By the way, I have a request. If you could go to your podcast host and hit subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. And what would be even more awesome is if you could write a review. And what would be even more awesome than that is if you could write like a really flattering review. Just asking, you do you. All right. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled that you're part of the Keto fam. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.